Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Talk Football. My name is John Halpin alongside Chris Palmer. How are we doing today?
Doing all right, man. Another exciting week in the books. A lot of comebacks, a lot of really surprising games at the end.
This was definitely a weekend for comebacks. And, man, let's start with the Thursday night game, which was the Los Angeles Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs coming back from a deficit to win 27-24. Your thoughts on that game?
Very exciting game. Didn't really expect anything less. Kind of expected some more points, but the unfortunate event is that Justin Herbert broke 3 ribs in that game.
Yeah.
So they're going to be going into this week hurt.
In the second half of that game, they really turned up their defensive line, and Chris Jones was having himself a half, and the Chargers just could not stop Chris Jones at all. And so let's see how the Chargers are going to be looking going forward. Let's move on to the New York Jets making another comeback to win 31-30 over the Cleveland Browns.
On the debut of the Dirt Devil.
Oh, my God.
For those who don't know, Cleveland decided to put a new logo at their midfield, and it's some type of demonic elf wearing a Browns jersey. Call it the Dirt Devil. It is crazy, and they wound up losing to the Jets in pretty interesting fashion. In my opinion, don't expect another game like that out of Joe Flacco.
I just want to give a shout-out to my man Joe Flacco, baby.
Don't expect another game like that, Jets fans.
Get it done.
It definitely got it done for what it needed to be, and very exciting ending. Another one. Great ending.
And this was actually a very interesting day because this was the first day since 2009 that the Yankees, the Mets, the Jets, and the Giants all won. And the Giants coming away with a strong victory over the Carolina Panthers, 19-16. A very low-scoring affair, but we thought that going into this game. Mm-hmm. We figured this was going to be a very low-scoring affair, and the Panthers' offense has a lot to be desired, as well the Giants' offense as well. But we said this game was going to be mostly dedicated on the run, and Giants just looked like the better team that had the most control, especially at the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely took control, but more exciting was that Giants defense. They were making some really good stops against Carolina. The Giants are definitely on the right path to becoming a winning team again. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say anything crazy about the Giants, but they are starting to go in the right direction. Same as the Jets, honestly. They're starting to go in the right direction.
They have the right pieces in place for a very strong comeback. Mm-hmm. And if they can stack, both New York teams, if they can stack wins this season, that's going to mean a lot, especially within their respective divisions. Now, the Jets may have a little bit harder of a time because the AFC East looks to be pretty stacked between the Bills and the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. But for the Giants, this game against the Cowboys, if you go 3-0, that's a big win. That's a big divisional win.
Yes, it is. That is a great way to show yourself and prove yourself to be the number 2 spot in that division. I'm putting them under Philly, of course, because Philly is one of the best teams in the NFC right now.
Philly looks absolutely hot. But let's get to your Pittsburgh Steelers losing to the New England Patriots 17-14. And we thought this was going to be another low-scoring affair. Mm-hmm. But it just seemed that Belichick was really able to exploit Trubisky and just force him to make bad throws and just not get there. Your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it was a great coaching outing again between head coaches. A little questionable on the offensive coordination when it comes to play calling. He was played very conservative when it comes to letting the stars do their thing. When it came to Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson and our receiving corps being able to run up the field, get past the second level for a catch. Mitch Trubisky, he is a game manager, not a field general. He's just going to run the play that's given to him. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. The receivers have accepted that, but they all made the same similar comment that the play calling needed to be different. So hopefully going into this week, they can develop more of a less conservative playbook. But overall, I think the absence of TJ Watt really hurt us too. We ran 3 men trying to fill his spot. Going into this week, you need to have one solid number 1 in the left outside linebacker position. As a Steelers fan, I think it should be Malik Reed. I think he's a really good hole filler until TJ Watt comes back. But we shall see.
Yeah, Belichick was able to exploit that defense because he basically put 3 men exactly where TJ Watt would be.
Every time.
And just kept attacking that weak point and just kept beating that drum. And Belichick, he might surprise you, but we play him this coming week in week 3, so that's going to be a fascinating matchup.
That's going to be a great game.
Especially after that my Baltimore Ravens lost to the Miami Dolphins 42-38. Oh my God, this game was absolutely incredible. If you did not see this game, please watch it. This is what the Dolphins can be. The Dolphins can be a team where they are just clutch and they can score points at will. And Tyreek Hill had 2 bombs. Jalen Waddle also had a stellar game. This was an incredible game for the Dolphins and an utter defensive collapse by the Ravens. It was so hard to watch because after seeing Tyreek Hill smoke Marcus Peters and also smoke Marlon Humphrey, it's like you can't blame the rookies on that. That's just bad. That's just miscommunication there. And he's just wide open, and it breaks your heart. Breaks my heart. So,
yeah, it was a very telling game. I agree with you for what Miami can be. A 28-point fourth quarter, my dude. That is something else. You don't see that out of many quarterbacks at all. Only a couple come to mind. Most of them are Super Bowl champions. This upcoming week, we're going to talk about it going into with Miami playing Buffalo. We're going to talk about Tua.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about that Bills-Dolphins game. We think that this is going to be the game of the week, and we're going to get into that shortly after we recap the rest of this. So let's move on to the Washington Commanders falling to the Detroit Lions 36-27. The Detroit Lions back-to-back games over 35 points.
35 points, and now they're winning games.
I like what I'm seeing out of Detroit.
It's exciting coming out of Detroit, and I have to give a shout-out to Aiden Hutchinson. I said week 1 he had to start making waves. Week 2 he walked away with 3 sacks. So it's exciting.
That's big boy football right there.
Yes,
we like big boy football on D-Town.
That's football right there.
So let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars getting it done with a shutout over the Indianapolis Colts 24-0.
I have a question for you. Is Indianapolis the worst team in the league right now? Think about that fall.
No, they're as good as the Texans, so they're not the worst. They're tied for the worst.
I feel the Texans are playing better than them. Not by much.
I don't know. I put them at equal.
It's a coin flip.
It's a coin flip.
Okay. So but again, still think about the descent from last season to now.
Mm-hmm.
They were a middle of the road, arguably like wild card contention team, and now we're putting them at 31 or 32.
Well, think about this: they're probably not going to win this week because they play the Chiefs in week 3. Patrick Mahomes is just going to have a field day.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
So let's move on to Tom Brady getting it done in New Orleans to beat the Saints 20-10. Now, if you didn't see the game, there was actually an altercation between Brady, Fournette, Mike Evans, Marshawn Lattimore for the Saints, and Mike Evans just pushed he's suspended because of that.
He also had to restructure his contract so he didn't lose $715,000.
I did not hear about that.
I saw that about a half hour ago before you got here. He had to restructure his contract so the fine wasn't as much. It went from like a $715,000 fine and got dropped to like a $60,000.
Well, when he's coming back, he's playing for incentives.
He took such a pay cut to get that down, bro. It's unbelievable.
And a 1-game suspension?
Yeah.
Take it.
Take it. You'll be back.
They will. He'll be back. He will definitely be back.
But when it comes to Tampa, not very impressive coming out of Tom Brady.
No, they're 2-0, and they don't really look that good.
They don't look impressive,
and they're all beaten up on offense. Their defense is playing great.
Mm-hmm.
So far, their defense is absolutely playing lights out. Devin White for the Bucks. He has 10 sacks.
Wow, in 2 games? That's nutty.
Wait, no, sorry, forgive me. He has 3 sacks last game. But as a team, they have 10 sacks between the two of them. My mistake.
If you have 10 sacks as one person in 2 games.
No, as a team, they have 10 sacks. But that's my mistake.
Okay.
But I gotta say,
Pretty impressive.
I like what I'm seeing out of that defense, but they have a tough matchup because they'll play Aaron Rodgers and the Packers this upcoming week. So let's move on to the Los Angeles Rams getting it done over the Atlanta Falcons, 31-27. It almost was a comeback. It almost was a comeback for the Falcons. They're playing scrappy.
They're starting. There's a little bit of a breath of life, but I feel they need a better quarterback. They're not going to succeed until they get a better quarterback.
I agree with you 100% on that.
And that defense is historically bad. There has never in my time of watching football, I don't remember them ever having a defense to shake your head at.
Oh, for the Falcons?
Yes.
No.
Just unimpressive defense.
They've never been a defensive-oriented team.
Always been historically bad and unimpressive defense.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to do something.
But let's stick to the NFC. And with some big news, the San Francisco 49ers beat the Seahawks 27-7, but at a very big cost.
Heartbreaking.
Trey Lance out for the season.
Broken ankle.
So, you know who's coming in?
Jimmy G is back.
Jimmy G's back.
And I'll have you know that man is laughing all the way to the bank because he had an incentive in his contract where if he played more than 25% of the snaps, he got an extra couple $1 million on his contract. He is laughing all the way to the bank. Unfortunately, only because of his contract. I'm sure as a teammate, he is completely, he just wants the best for Trey Lance, wants him to heal well. But in terms of him versus the franchise, he's laughing his entire way to the bank.
You know what it is him re-signing with the 49ers was the right move because obviously we can't foresee injuries, but this is the best case scenario because if the 49ers did not have Jimmy G, they would be looking lost. If CJ Beathard.
They would have no one.
CJ Beathard.
Is who?
Oh, but we're going to talk more about the 49ers this upcoming week. But let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys with a strong win over the Cincinnati Bengals, 20-17. Cooper Rush getting it done. But man, this offensive line for the Bengals, what's going on?
I don't understand. You'd think with spending over $70 million on Pro Bowl linemen, and you call it the insurance policy all off season. Hang on. Call her in a second. What is going on? You have let up 16 sacks?
I believe it was 13 sacks.
In 2 games.
Yes.
This man is projected to be sacked over 100 times this season. It's week 2. Yeah. You got to start looking at offensive line coordination. The offensive line coach. Mm-hmm. What are you doing wrong? You're doing something wrong. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, good for Dallas for getting the win, but man, Cincinnati, you got some problems on the offensive line, and I feel for you. I feel for the Bengals because it's like you don't want to see that, and we've seen that with Andrew Luck, where it's like they have the franchise guy, and he just can't stay on the field because he's just hurt, and if they just keep letting him get sacked, he was sacked 70 times last year between the regular season and the playoffs. For him to be projected 100 sacks, like to get sacked over 200 times in a matter of 2 seasons, that's like nearly 200 times. That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous, and people need to understand that is absolutely taking time off of his career. Like the kid is a stud. But you keep breaking him down like this, he will not be in the league long. And that is the unfortunate truth of what is happening in Cincinnati right now.
I know.
They're hitting fast forward on Joe Burrow's career.
And it's hard because with the talent that they have, you expect that they're one of those teams that can compete against, say, a Kansas City or Buffalo or the Ravens or any powerhouse team. Like they're a team that's like at their best. That's what they can do. But that's the
catch.
We've seen their cap, but that may not necessarily be their expectation.
Right.
So they should start like really getting realistic expectations for the season where it's like, look, if you're not going to fix this offensive line, this is going to be a continuous problem. And it's like you can't say it's like you still have plenty of time this year to make changes. If you need to trade for a player, there's still the trade deadline.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like if you need like, hey, look, we like who you got in Seattle. Let's pluck them real quick. But like you know what I mean? Like if there's a really good player that can really help now, it's worth paying the extra price for. And it seems that their expectation for the players that they did do that with, they have not met those expectations.
And I seriously feel like that falls more on coaching than it does player talent.
I agree with that.
Yeah. You really have to start looking at the offensive line because this happened when you had nobodies, and this happens when you have Pro Bowlers and a Super Bowl champion on your offensive line now. Mm-hmm. So you can't tell me that the talent gap is still there. You closed the talent gap from offense to defense. So there should be at least some form of protection going into games. 7 sacks, they're tearing you apart. Absolutely tearing you apart. They're coasting till they find a slight edge, and then they're taking complete and total advantage of you. Offensive coaching needs to figure it out.
Yeah, and we'll keep an eye on the Bengals going forward this season. But let's move on to another comeback this week. The Arizona Cardinals coming back against the Las Vegas Raiders, 29-23 in a walk-off fumble recovery touchdown.
In overtime.
Woo! That was something to watch. An incredible game from start to finish. But man, what a comeback. Tell me, what are your thoughts on the Raiders?
I don't know. They're off to a very slow start this year. A lot of fundamental mistakes, and I think they're really trying to overpress the issue of Devontae Adams. They need to take a step back, take a breath, make their plays, and find him open, not force him to be open. Mm-hmm. They are forcing the ball, and because of that, they're starting to play real sloppy again. And that's almost like the formula for the Raiders. As soon as they get a weapon, we have to feed him now, and then every team picks up on it. They become a one-trick pony. Mm-hmm. They have great pieces where they are with Hunter Renfrow, with Darren Waller, now with Jamal Adams and Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Work them together. You focus one of them, the teams are going to pick up on it. It's just the way it works. You cannot be a one-trick pony for skills.
Mm-hmm. That's why I want to see them incorporate more runs with Josh Jacobs, because he's one of the better running backs in the league. But let's move on to another underrated running back in the league, Aaron Jones, getting it done for the Green Bay Packers, 27-10 over the Chicago Bears. Aaron Jones is probably what's going to be winning them games this year, right? Instead of Aaron Rodgers and the receiving core.
Well, yeah, that's how that's going to go. But is Aaron Jones really underrated? We both really like Aaron Jones. I don't think he's as underrated as people think.
Well, he had a quiet week 1, and so this was a good coming out party week 2, especially in prime time.
Yeah.
And he's just one of those running backs where you feed him the ball enough times, he's just going to just chew up yardage every single time.
And that's a good game for him to get his confidence up, playing the weaker, completely, again, in shambles Chicago. Mm-hmm. They're in complete shambles. So for Aaron Jones, someone who needs to have like a confidence game, that was it.
Yeah.
Good on you. You had your confidence game. Now you need to go out and play.
Yeah, this was a great game for Aaron Jones. And like we said before, the Green Bay Packers play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week 3. Mm-hmm. Brady Rodgers. And both of them not looking too good, but we'll talk a little bit about that game. Yeah. So let's move on to the 2 Monday night primetime games. Tennessee and Buffalo. Buffalo smacking the Titans 41-7. They just looked unstoppable.
The Buffalo Bills look unbeatable. They really do. They look absolutely unbeatable. I don't understand. They came out with such a nasty taste in their mouth this season. It's going to be hard to beat Buffalo. But 41 points, you got to look on the other side and say, what in the fuck is going on with Tennessee? Oh, my God. They are playing like absolute trash.
They are playing way lower than expected. I mean, granted, the Giants game they should have won, but no one expected them to really beat Buffalo. But they lost in a horrible fashion.
And in order to make the playoffs, you have to be able to play against the best. Buffalo favors to win the Super Bowl. Yes, you still may have to play them in the playoffs.
Yep.
You have to get past them there first.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to allow a 40-point outing and you're only going to answer with 7, you're not going to even... Don't even look at the playoffs. Look forward to next year because you're not even going to make it.
Now, we will talk a little bit more about the Titans later on. But let's move on to the final Monday night primetime game. The Minnesota Vikings falling to the Philadelphia Eagles 24-7. It should have been a bigger blowout. But my God, it felt like it was such a chasm between how they were playing. The Eagles, there's nothing the Vikings that they could have done that could have stopped the Eagles. And by the time it was the second half, they were just killing clock.
Yeah, no, you could argue right now that Philly is the best team in the NFC.
They look to be. They look to be.
They're on a tear.
If they can stack up wins,
it's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
It's exciting coming out of Philly, and it's exciting coming out of Detroit. I don't understand what's happening.
I don't know, but I like you and I. We said it before. Like Jalen Hurts is a baller, and he's just so great. And honestly, it looks like AJ Brown was meant to be an Eagle.
Yeah, him and Devonta Smith are disgusting.
They are absolutely a nasty tandem.
And then you got Boston Scott in the backfield
with Miles Sanders. Stellar players, and I gotta say, as great as week 2 was, I'm really looking forward to week 3.
I am absolutely excited to week 3. So let's get on and start talking about week 3. I love it.
So let's start with probably the biggest game this week, and that is the Bills and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
This is easily a playoff game, and I want to say a few things. I want to make sure, like, as much as I think that it was a horrible defensive collapse by the Ravens, I also think at the same time it was a great showing of offense for the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. And I can't take anything away. I always thought Tua was a more than capable quarterback and a pretty good quarterback, in fact, where it's like you don't need to put up great numbers, but so long as you win. And he really just won. He did what was necessary to win. Mm-hmm. And what was necessary was hitting Tyreek twice for 2 bombs, which is great. And I got to say, they're really going to challenge the Bills secondary. I don't think they're going to be afraid to go for that deep ball.
I absolutely wouldn't.
By any means. But I don't think Josh Allen's going to go be afraid to go for that deep ball either. Like him and Stephon Diggs look like they're on a whole nother connection between quarterback and wide receiver, where it's like they are the tandem where they just know exactly what the other one's thinking, where they need to be, what they're looking for, and more times than not, he's hitting them. He's hitting them every single time.
So are you telling me you smell a shootout?
No.
You don't smell a shootout?
I don't smell a shootout. I smell a chess-like game, because I think that having that film of the Ravens' defensive collapse is where it's like, look, this is what they can do. We have to take away the big play, otherwise it's like they're going to come back and win. And the Dolphins have shown that not only this game, but also when they were on their winning streak last year, that they can come back and win games.
Yes. And
that is just so fantastic to see, because I love you and I, we love to see teams come from behind and win.
It's always a good comeback.
But the Dolphins seem to be competitive, and that's a great thing to see. And the fact that this game takes place in week 3 between 2 hot teams, they're both just coming in hot. Mm-hmm. in Miami too. This is a playoff game. It feels like a playoff game.
Oh, I love this game.
Maybe not so much for the Heat, but
No, not for the Heat. But I agree with you. This has the playoff energy from the jump. I want to run something by you. The Dolphins actually made history on Sunday. They're the first team to have a quarterback throw for over 400 yards and have 2 receivers with 170-plus receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in a single game. No team has ever done that before.
that is ridiculous.
Tua had a 72% completion rating. After 2 games, his completion percentage is the number 3 in the league. Fun fact, guess who number 1 is?
Holmes? No, Geno.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith. I remember you telling me that.
Geno Smith at 81%. And number 2 is Josh Allen. So you have 2 of the single most accurate quarterbacks in the league going up against each other.
Mm-hmm.
With the weapons that they have. If this turns into a shootout, Tua silences all the haters.
Do you think this is going to be a shootout?
I think it has the potential to.
Give me a score. What's the final?
35-30?
See, I could see that.
Like 35-30?
You know what? I think both teams are going to exploit if there's multiple ways to score on.
They're going to take every way possible.
If they can score on defense or special teams,
Mm-hmm.
that's big too. That's really big.
Yeah, I see 65 points or more.
I would like to see that, and I want to see more of the coaching matchup with their new head coach in Miami, Matt something.
I can't think of his name.
I forget his name. Right, Mike McDaniel.
Is it Mike McDaniel?
Mike McDaniel.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So
Don't the Bills also have a new offensive coordinator this year? Or is it the Rams that have it?
the Bills, because their offensive coordinator Brian Daboll is now the head coach for the Giants.
That's right. So they're running a new coach as well.
And just looks like it just bombs away.
True to form, and it seems to be bombs away for both teams.
I will say this, though. Aside from Stephon Diggs, the Bills have a great offensive unit without him.
Mm-hmm.
When Gabriel Davis is healthy, he's a very good number 2 wide receiver.
I agree.
I think Dawson Knox is a very underutilized tight end. He's a very physical tight end.
He's a great blocker.
He's kind of like, he feels like a second fullback. And on Monday they looked like they were demonstrating their actual fullback. He was the first one to score a touchdown for the Bills.
Yeah, I like him too. I'm gonna give Reggie Gillane is his name. Reggie Gillane. You know who else I like though? The rookie running back they got out of Georgia, James Cook. Ooh. Kid's fast. 2nd round they got him. Kid's really quick. He's got some really cool sideline speed. I want to see them incorporate their run game this week. That's what I want to see coming out of the Bills. I want to see them incorporate their run game and then hit over the top when they need to. Not just at will, because if they can do that, it's going to be scary for the Dolphins. I hope the Dolphins can contain them and force them to dig deeper into their playbook.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, this is going to be such a great game.
Yeah,
and this is probably the most important game, because whoever wins this game takes the lead in their own division, and it's a divisional game, so this matters that much more when it comes to playoffs and seeding. So if the Dolphins could come away, that's a huge win. And I agree with you before. You said that Tua would silence everyone. He absolutely would, being that we expect the Bills to be favored in every single game that they play. I think that, yeah, they're going to lose a couple games, but it's honestly even realistic to see them losing to the Dolphins, because the Dolphins seem that they're looking to stack up offensively to the same equivalent just by using a different way. Right. Instead of you have a dominant one and then running attack out on the sides.
You have 2 completely dominants.
You spread the field with 2 wide receivers that are more than capable to just burn everyone.
And then you have Raheem Mostert in the backfield, who is just so crazy fast for a running back. It's incredible to watch.
He's fast, but they don't look to run. It looks like they're really looking to throw, because, what was it, Tua threw for 50 times that game. He was 36 for 50 with 469 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
My God.
What a game.
My God.
What a game. In my opinion, from what I see coming out of Tua, he is someone who is on the brink of something special when it comes to his talent ceiling. He's about to break through the ceiling that everyone's been trying to put on him since he got into the league, and he's going to make himself a household name. This season, it's coming.
Yeah, and people criticize the Dolphins for not taking Justin Herbert, and taking Tua over Justin Herbert. Well, we know what Justin Herbert is.
They're equals.
Now, well, I wouldn't say that they're equals. I think if we have a stellar season from Tua this year. Now, remember, there's only 2 games, so still very early in the season. If we could see them consistently exceed expectations and win games like this upcoming game, I think people are going to start to realize, like, okay, these guys are serious contenders. Like, he is a more than capable quarterback to get it done.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that, again, going up against Josh Allen, it could be a high-scoring game. It could be just one of those wacky divisional games. Something crazy might happen in this game. It's got that feeling because this game is going to be important. For one way or another, this game is going to be important going forward throughout the season. If the Bills are 2-1 and teams have footage on, like, okay, how is Miami able to win?
Right.
That's really people are going to start taking that film and exploiting them for that. And believe me, like, good coaches just take the film. Be like, 2 games is more than enough to see what you're good at, what you're bad at, and where I can exploit the game to win.
Especially if a game goes the way it can go in Miami, where it could go 3 different ways. Either Miami gets rolled, it's a barn burner of a match, or Buffalo gets rolled. It's very unlikely that Buffalo will get rolled, but that can just happen. They can just come out and play like absolute hell.
Yeah.
We've seen them play bad games. Josh Allen does have bad games.
They lost to the Jags last year, 9-6.
Right. That was also when the Jags couldn't put points up. Miami can put points up. If you guys come out putting 6 points up, and Miami comes out the way they came out, what's going to happen then?
Yeah, I think honestly, what's really going to stop Josh Allen, especially that running game, because they run with Josh Allen. They have specific quarterback runs for him to run, and he's more than capable to just sit in the pocket and just wait for the play to develop and just even eat a hit. Yeah. He's a very durable quarterback. He's a big guy.
He's a big dude. I think he's like 6'2", 230.
He's like 6'5", I think.
Is he that big?
Yeah, I think he's well over 6.
I know he's well over 6 foot. I didn't know he was like Ben Roethlisberger's size.
Yeah, he's got Ben Roethlisberger's body type.
Well, yeah, he does. I just didn't think he was that tall.
Yeah, but
6'5", probably about 240 as a quarterback.
Yeah,
physical, can stiff arm people, can run, is not afraid to put his shoulder down. I like Josh Allen a lot.
He's expected to be the MVP, win it all, and stuff like that. But obviously, their cap is through the roof, and I think we expect them to reach their cap. But maybe we should expect them to not reach their cap all the time. Like, they're going to lose games.
For sure.
They're definitely going to lose games. No one's going to go perfect unless you're the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Go perfect and win it all. Sorry, 2007 Patriots. But
no, we're not. We're not sorry.
We ain't sorry for that. Fuck Tom Brady. But yeah, I think the Bills, they just look like the most complete team on all phases of the game. Offense, defense, and special teams. They look very complete and very well-rounded. I think for Miami, they're starting to look that. They're kind of shaping themselves. And I think this is a good metric of their talent. This game is going to be absolutely huge.
I'm so excited for this game.
So, any final thoughts on this game?
No, I think all that needs to be said now is just watch these teams go out and beat each other bloody.
Oh, this is going to be great. That's probably going to be the game of the week. But I will say this. I do want to keep my eye on the Lions and Vikings. The Lions, we've been saying for a while, the Lions are playing good. Like, we see you. We see how Jared Goff had 4 touchdowns in this game.
what is happening in Detroit, man? They are so goddamn exciting to watch. I don't think it's Jared Goff.
It's not.
It's not Jared Goff. That man's bored.
Is it Dan Campbell?
I think so.
I think it's Dan Campbell.
I think it's Dan Campbell. I think they completely invested into what he does, his dynamic of a team, and everyone bought it.
They just play hard.
Everyone is buying it, and hard. I love it. I love what's coming out of Detroit, man. I'm going to give another shout out to Aiden Hutchinson for that 3-sack game. He comes out, he has another big game like that. He's going to be an impressive linebacker in the league.
Mm-hmm. Man, this game is going to be great. And I know this game is going to be physical too, because the Vikings are going to come into this game angry because they're like, no, we can play better than that. And the Vikings can play better than they did Monday night against the Eagles. But man, the Lions are going to play them to the teeth. Like, they're going to play them. Every minute's going to count.
Yes.
Every minute is going to count against them. And we've just seen this past week, so many comebacks can happen. You leave that much time, you leave a sliver of chance. You're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah, it's not over till it's over.
And teams will take advantage and win it. The Dolphins, the Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I also want to give one more shout out to someone on the Lions. His name defeats me right now. He's number 70. He's a 6-year veteran.
Spitter?
Yeah, Spitter. Yeah?
Something like that?
Something like that. His name defeats me.
Number 70.
Number 70.
Yeah.
He is a 6-year veteran, made his first official start this past Sunday. At a position that he never played, he is now playing a left guard. So he's a pulling guard now.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that one in mind. And he has the number 2 highlight from the Detroit game, where he drove someone back 12 to 14 yards that led to a 62-yard run leading him to the 3-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you. Good on you. Welcome to the league.
That's so great to see. And an
really,
offensive line should get highlights. They should be on the highlight reel. Let's be honest.
Feel they get undermined. Think about the idea of a Pro Bowl lineman for a second. Think about how many linemen there are. Only 22 linemen make it into the Pro Bowl.
There's a lot of
so
good
you have
linemen
two
out
strings of linemen on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just have the first line and then the second line.
There are hundreds of linemen in the league.
Mm-hmm.
22, and he made a Pro Bowl move in that game.
Mm-hmm.
He made a Pro Bowl block in that game.
And when they go down, their absence is felt because
100%.
There's reasons that people are starters in the league, and when you have offensive linemen that go down, it makes it that much harder because you're playing a guy that doesn't necessarily get that much practice reps along with the other starters. So it's like he doesn't have the cadence to keep up with them.
The chemistry. There's
and
nothing.
the chemistry. So it takes time for offensive line to develop. And you see the best ones are typically the ones that not only can stay healthy, but also like have the same guys play with each other
for years.
And you have great chemistry. I will say this, though. One thing that I know made it very hard for the Vikings to get that pass rush on Jalen Hurts, other than him being a running quarterback, Jason Kelsey, for the center for the Eagles, made it very difficult for them to rush the passer.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that to see that great offensive line play for the Detroit Lions, that's going to be phenomenal. Like, that's going to be phenomenal in stopping that Vikings pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
So you like to see that come from Detroit because that's exactly what they need. That's going to carry them and make them and help them win games. The little things count. And Detroit just seems to be getting better at all the little things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the little things are going a much longer way now because, you look at their offense. Amon-Ra special. Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Oh, my God, yeah.
He is special.
I think he had 119. So he had 2 rushes for 68 yards, which is insane in and of itself, just to have that many yards on 2 big plays. But he was also 9 catches for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is a monster game to have.
Monster game.
Any wide receiver.
Also, to piggyback off of that, when he scored one of his touchdowns, I think it was 3 minutes later, his brother in Chicago scored a touchdown too.
Oh, that's great.
So the St. Brown brothers scored within 3 minutes of each other.
Oh, that's great.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
It runs in the family. But man, this Lions Vikings game, this is a fantastic matchup because I think that honestly, whoever really kind of wins this game, they can go toe to toe with Green Bay. We've seen the Vikings go against toe to toe with Green Bay, and they won. If the Lions show that they're capable to go against the Vikings and then the Packers, maybe we're looking at a sleeper cell, but
not yet.
Not yet.
I'm not. No, we can't start making those thoughts yet.
You know what it is?
It's still too new.
Teams need to stack up wins.
Yes,
you need to keep winning games, and I think that winning that game against Washington, you get your first win of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Can you carry that over into next week? You're feeling good. You're playing good. And I believe there's still underdogs going into this game.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, man, I just like the way they play. And they play very hard this year and last year. And I just like to see the coaching from Dan Campbell. And you and I hit it right on the head. Like, he looks to be just a really good football coach.
Yeah, overall football coach. Like, he is, and again, he's bringing an energy that hasn't been in Detroit. You know, Aiden Hutchinson, again, with those 3 sacks, he's the first Detroit defenseman to walk away with 3 sacks in a game, ever. So
it's crazy to think about.
That's crazy to think about. It's almost sad to think about that there hasn't been a good defensive front in Detroit in its history.
Yeah.
So a historically bad defense, a historically bad franchise that has only had a few good pieces here and there, finally starting to get it together is a great story. It's a great, great story about attrition.
It is. I will say this for the Vikings. One last thought. They need to utilize Dalvin Cook.
Oh, for sure.
He is one of those running backs where he needs more touches. The more touches he gets, the better things will happen. And you got to make plays and commit to the run. It felt like they just kind of kept force-feeding Justin Jefferson over and over. And for that, they just threw themselves out of the game. Where it's like, you have Dalvin Cook, a more than capable running back. Utilize him. He's great. He's fantastic. Like, there have been games where he scored 3 touchdowns and carried a game before.
Yeah, it happens. You know, he's a very slept-on running back in the league now, and it's almost questionable as to why. Because he's right in the mix to be argued one of the top 5 running back in the league, but he's so underutilized in Minnesota now. It's almost. You can't put him in the conversation because of how underutilized.
You can't force feed your players. You need to let the game happen organically. And if you have to take what the defense gives you. If the defense is allowing you to run, but you're just not committing to it, take the run. Take the run. There's nothing wrong with that. But if they have double coverage on your best receiver, you know they're just going to take him out of the game. It's like, as good as that receiver is, double coverage is hard. Try throwing in between 2 guys. Like, that's
running at full speed.
That's hard to do. And so I expected better from the Vikings, but I think that this game, I don't think they'll get shut out. I think, honestly, this was going to be a back and forth kind of game. I could see it.
Okay.
And I think we may not be high scoring. I mean, hell, maybe it is.
Maybe this is the sleeper cell game of the week.
It very well could be. I just like how Detroit's playing.
I'm very excited for Detroit.
You ripping their colors?
I mean, not intentionally. I'm wearing light blue.
You going D-Town?
No. No.
Okay. Any final thoughts on this game?
Just gear up because this is going to be one of the most exciting games of the week.
Oh, this is going to be a great one. And I will say this, though. The next game that I think is going to be absolutely fantastic to watch is the Raiders and the Titans, 2 teams that need a win, but one of them will go 0-3 to start the season. That is rough. That is real rough. Both these teams, they need a win, and Raiders almost won, and the Titans almost won the Titans almost won against the Giants, and the Raiders almost won against the Cardinals, but
they don't count.
They couldn't close it out, and so I got to ask you this one question, Chris Palmo. What's going on with Derrick Henry?
It's not him. You and I spoke about this off air. It's not him.
But what's going on with the Titans, man? Like, why
that is the better question.
Why
what's
they look
going
so
on?
bad?
Well,
it's a shame.
We always like to say on the field it starts. Everyone likes to point fingers at the quarterback. No. Look at the offensive line. We're going to say it again. Without having a good offensive line, your team is going to suffer. People love to embellish the skill guys, and that's great. They're the ones that score you your points. The play only goes as far as the offensive line allows it.
Mm-hmm.
If the defense is getting pushed on your offensive line all game, your quarterback is under duress, your quarterback has to make desperation plays, so they start playing sloppy. Ryan Tannehill is not a quarterback that can improvise and overcome. He needs time. He needs to be protected. Derrick Henry needs a little bit to get started, to get running. The unfortunate fact about Derrick Henry, everyone knows who watches this podcast, I love Derrick Henry. He's been figured out that he needs 4, 5, 6 runs before he can break a 25, 30-yard run. He's going to have a 7, 8-yard run, a 4-yard run. He's going to lose yardage on a couple of runs, and then he's going to break it off.
Mm.
He is not an out-the-gate hot runner. He just isn't. I personally feel he's too big. He's too big to be that runner. He needs time to get his breath up, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to warm up. We referred to him as a chainsaw last year. Cold start a chainsaw and tell me how fast it goes. Once it gets going, it doesn't stop, but it takes a minute to actually rip the cord. So that falls into issues. Ryan Tannehill, being who he is, he's a consistent par quarterback. Mm-hmm. He's well past any form of prime that he had in his career. At this point, I feel, again, he is a backup. I feel he's he's more on the back end of his career, so he should be a backup. In my opinion, the Titans will not succeed until Malik Willis is in as starter.
And we may see him in sooner than later because Titans look to be struggling. I will say this, though. Derrick Henry, though, the reason I ask about Derrick Henry is because in 2 games he has 107 yards and was it two touchdowns? No, sorry, 1 touchdown in 2 games. Okay. Split that how you will. That's averaging 50 yards a game. That's okay. But last year he had 240 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
Should we start managing our expectations more for Derrick Henry, where it's like he's probably not going to be hit close to 2,000, but if you say he gets 1,200, that could be good.
I'm going to agree to that to an extent. Do I still think he's capable of a 2,000-yard season?
Capable,
as a
yes.
player, yes. Is the team set up for it now? Absolutely not. That's where I'm at. Last year he was on such a tear before he got hurt. Look at the receiving core that was last year. They had A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. Mm-hmm. They don't have a receiving core to take the pressure off of him anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's really only him now, and he's coming off of a season-ending injury.
Yep.
People, us included, we have to take that into effect. That injury was probably a lot worse than he pertained it to be.
Well, he did try to come back in the playoffs.
Yes, he aggravated it. Pretty sure he needed surgery over the
100%.
over the offseason.
100%.
So, you got to take that into consideration. Is he still going to be a top 5, low top 5, high top 10, maybe number 7 in the league this year? He won't be number 1 running back this year. I don't think that's going to be a thing.
Who do you think will?
I think Jonathan Taylor's going to take that.
Even though performance in Jacksonville?
I think he is really going to have a breakout year this year. Call it a bold prediction if you want. I think he could be the number 1. But Derrick Henry will be right there. He will. I think at best he's a low top 5. He would be 5 out of 5 right now this year. I'm biased, but I'm going to throw Najee Harris in there too. He's going to be unbelievable this year.
Yeah. Najee Harris is going to be great this year. But it just seems that the teams that are dependent on their running backs, when they don't use them, they lose the game. I mean, it just seems kind of a little obvious where a team predicated to run the ball effectively, such as the Titans or, as we mentioned, the Vikings with Dalvin Cook, teams need to utilize the run game. And you can't give up on it so quick. Yeah, like, yes, for Tennessee, it's like, yes, we get it. We expect the Bills to be throwing up a party on it. But it's like, you have to stick to the run. It's like, because once after they scored that touchdown, I think it was in the first quarter, they didn't put up any other points in the game. It was a 41-7 shut. It was a complete thralling. But both these teams need a win, man. Like the Raiders and Titans, like they need a win in the worst way.
You want to talk about a team that's really stepping away from the run game? You look at the Raiders, and it's really unfortunate because Josh Jacobs is another slept-on running back in the league. I think they should run with him, just like the Titans. You know, just like you were talking about with the Vikings having to pick it up with Dalvin Cook. Mm-hmm. You open up a game with Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams will be open majority of the more time. You know, you look at the formula in Green Bay when Devontae Adams was there. Aaron Jones was in the backfield cooking.
Yep.
Well, and then you throw into Devontae Adams. They didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Not saying Josh Jacobs is an Aaron Jones caliber player, but he's still a focal point that can be utilized to open up your massive target.
Yeah.
So when it comes to necessity of games, you look at both of these teams from where they were to where they are. It is so unfortunate that they just completely disregarded what they wanted to do last year. Both messages are gone. They look deflated as teams. And it's unfortunate to watch.
It's sad because statistically, teams that go 0-3, they don't make the playoffs. And both these teams made the playoffs last year. And they had disappointing endings because the Raiders lost to the Bengals in a close game from a come-from-behind victory. And the Titans lost to the Bengals in a close game.
And the Titans sacked, I believe, if I remember correctly, they sacked Joe Burrow nine times in that game.
Yep, 9 times. And he still won. But Tannehill threw for 3 interceptions. And it hurt them. It ultimately hurt them in the end. And the Bengals, kept sticking around, and ultimately winning. That's kind of how they lost to the Giants. Yep. That team just kept sticking around. And when you need to close out a game, you typically lean on your running back.
You should.
You run the ball. You kill clock. You let them get the hard yards. And so you're not looking for a 20-yard bomb down the field. You're just looking for a yard that's like, okay, you can get 5 yards here, 5 yards there.
Right, let's make a drive happen.
Let's make a drive and kill time.
And both of these teams are falling into the same issues that the Chargers had last year that we were saying that they needed to fix, that they seem to have fixed this year, was finishing the game. Mm-hmm. The Raiders, they seem to have fallen into that issue now. And the Titans, they're in complete disarray on both sides of the ball now. Derrick Henry's a saving grace, yes, but you look at that defense, it's got a mess of problems. Has a mess of problems.
Yeah. Yeah, that defense gave up a lot, like 143 rushing yards against the Cardinals. And if Derrick Henry's going to have a breakout game, it's going to be against the Raiders. Like they don't have a good run defense to stop him. So if either running back is going to do good, it's going to be at this game.
Yes.
And they just... I'm excited for this game because no team wants to lose and be 0-3 because that leaves a sour taste in your mouth going forward.
But which team is going to play with a higher sense of desperation? That's the question.
That's going to be the one who decides it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Oh, man. So any final thoughts on this game?
No, I think this one's pretty well off.
Okay, so let's move on to another game, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. And now you're thinking, you're probably like, wait. The Chargers are going to smoke the Jags. Maybe not necessarily.
I don't know about that.
The Jags had a very impressive win over the Colts, 24-0. And I got to say, they picked off Matt Ryan 3 times. 3 times that game. And now we trust Justin Herbert to be playing at a high level, but he's coming in hurt.
Coming in with 3 broken ribs.
He's coming in hurt, and I don't know. Maybe the Jags defense can exploit that. They can just kind of be like, hey, look, if we can get pressure with 4, then we're just going to have everyone back, and if you throw a pick, then we're just going to capitalize,
Right.
which is exactly what the Chiefs did. They played good. They had a drive, but one miscommunication between the quarterback and wide receiver changes the game. And I think that the Jags are more than capable of doing that because they had interceptions by 3 different players. And so you have you have a whole team that's just going after the ball. That's a good recipe right there. You know where we see that? We saw that in Detroit. We're talking about the Cats this week. We're talking about D-Town and the Jags.
Yeah, they're another team that, they swarm the ball on defense. It's great to watch. It's very exciting coming out of Jacksonville. And, with Justin Herbert being as hurt as he is, he's not going to be able to have the long ball.
Now, let me ask you, what are your thoughts on Trayvon Walker? I know you were impressed with Aiden Hutchinson getting 3 sacks. Trayvon Walker, I think in his first game, he had a sack and a pick. And I think last game, I'm not sure if he got a sack or not, but he's been making an impact for the Jags.
That's what you want to see. You want to see impact players come out the gate and be ready to make impact plays. Week 1, having a sack and a pick is great. Week 2, if you stay true to form, you're going to have a great, great young season. I like the idea of what's happening for both of these teams. 2 very snake-bitten, unfortunate circumstance when it comes to teams. My mind always goes when it comes to the Jaguars that the season with Leonard Fournette when they went to the AFC Championship.
Oh man, Saxonville. When they were Saxonville, it was great.
Calais Campbell on the Jags, unbelievable.
Yep.
Great players on improper fit at the wrong time.
What was it? I think it was Jalen Ramsey,
Mm-hmm.
AJ Bouye,
And Calais Campbell on the back.
Campbell.
Yep.
That was a great time. I will say this, though. They are making the right moves and drafting well, and their young players are looking pretty well. I will say this. I want to give a shout-out to James Robinson, their running back. He's a very utilized running back for the Jags, but very unsung. He gets the hard yards, like it seems, every game. And he's just one of those north-south runners that he just goes. And I want to give a shout-out to him because he's been playing well these first 2 games. Alongside Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is looking pretty good.
Trevor Lawrence can finally put some points on the board. He had to take a little piece of humble pie last year.
Yes, but let's ask us this question. Let's just keep it very simple. Who's better, Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence?
Well, you also have to add in the factor that Justin Herbert has 3 broken ribs. Healthy Justin?
How is a hurt Justin Herbert?
No one knows yet. And again, Jacksonville's a very aggressive defense. They know he's hurt. That offensive line's hurt too. Pretty sure their center's questionable to play right now. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of linemen that got hurt during camp, so they're not 100% going into this defense. If they get their hands on Justin Herbert, how long does Justin Herbert stay in?
Yeah, I will say this though. The Chargers
he takes a big fall.
Mm-hmm.
He's out.
The Chargers had a tough time guarding against Chris Jones last week for the Chiefs. So all it takes is one player to really just make Justin Herbert uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And we know he can run, but he's typically a pocket passing quarterback. So it's going to be, can the Jags dial up enough pressure to make Justin Herbert uncomfortable playing? Because now that he knows that he's hurt, and everyone kind of knows that he's hurt, we know that his pain tolerance is only going to be so high.
Well, yeah, the messed up part about broken ribs is everything hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It hurts to breathe. And now you're breathing with a mouthpiece in, and you have pads on, and you're running at full speed. You want to talk about miscomfort. This guy is going to be playing in absolute agony all game if he is actually starting. I don't know if he's still considered the starter. Haven't heard anything opposite yet. So we're going to play it off as he's going into this game starting. Playing with broken ribs is not smart.
Still no Keenan Allen.
No Keenan Allen. So you don't have your big weapon. You're playing hurt. Situationally, this is not looking good for the Chargers.
No, because you have a very hungry team looking to prove themselves. And yes. Chargers are, again, another team with high expectations. And we expect them to not only make the playoffs, but also a deep playoff run. So this game is going to be important because if the Jags go 2-1 and take the lead in their division, good on them. But if the Chargers slip to 1-2,
and I'm not going to put it out there, worst case scenario, Justin Herbert goes down. If they lose Justin Herbert for a substantial amount of time, their season's over.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have an answer without him. It's just that.
Yeah, and like the Chargers team just revolves around Justin Herbert, and he's just playing hurt.
Yeah, but on Jags, again, I'm going to give them a lot of credit where credit is due. They've made the right moves in the offseason. They're starting to draft really well. I think they had one of the best drafts they've had this past year and the year prior. They still have Chark on offense, so they're starting to really...
No, Chark's actually in Detroit.
Okay, I didn't know that.
They have Christian Kirk.
Thank you. They have Christian Kirk. Okay, that's still great. And again, Trevor Lawrence was able to humble himself a little bit from having a great football career until he managed to come into one of the worst situational teams in the league.
Well, now he has Doug Peterson.
Right. So he has a couple of losses under his belt. He knows what it feels like.
Yep.
Now you're going to go out and win in the league, and you're going to see what that feels like. So this is going to be an exciting game.
Oh,
I'm very excited for this game, and I'm excited for the future for the Jaguars and for Detroit. But we're just going to keep Detroit.
But let's move on to the final game we wanted to talk about, and that was the Sunday night primetime game. The San Francisco 49ers coming into Denver to play Russell Wilson and the Broncos. A former 80s Super Bowl rematch, but
nowhere near the talent of the 80s.
I will say this, though. There's a reason this game's going to be on primetime. Like, I feel like this game it's going to be a low-scoring chess match, but we're going to see some plays. We're going to see some excellent highlights this game because both teams, they have the capabilities of just they're just powder kegs waiting to explode. Mm-hmm. And San Francisco, especially because they have an excellent offense with a wide receiving core. They're hurt at running back, and George Kittle's still out. But now, obviously, you have the big change. Can Jimmy G be the one to light that fire?
Well, the fire was there with Jimmy G. It's been there. Jimmy G can win you games. It's what he can. It's what he does. He's in a great fit in San Francisco. He's not a bad fit. He wins games. They were respectfully trying to move off of him because they had a young quarterback. Mm-hmm. Very unfortunate that Trey Lance is out for the year.
It's so sad to hear about.
It's so sad. And you watch it, it looked like it was just a freak accident.
It was, and man, you got to feel for him because it's like this is the time that the team is turning to you and believes in you, and it's like your career can take a grand pivot because you're as we talked about last week week one, where it's like you're set up for success.
Right.
You have a great team, a coach that believes in you, talented players around you. Debo
Samuel's nasty.
Debo. But you have an excellent team around you, and it just brings you all the confidence in the world. And it's like all that just got deflated instantly because it's like he's out for the year. This injury is very similar to Dak Prescott's injury 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's not as gruesome.
No, nowhere near as gruesome of a break.
But the same equivalent. It's just bad. He's done for the year.
It's so unfortunate.
And you feel for him, too, because he's just going to have to dedicate time to healing that. And if you've ever had to heal or rehab stuff, it takes a lot of time.
And you're never the same. No matter how hard you try, you're never the same.
Yeah.
The fortunate part is that he's in San Francisco and their medical team is unbelievable. So he's going to have a real good time rehabbing. He will be back next year, I'm almost positive. But
unless the 49ers go to the Super Bowl, he's probably coming back.
Well, he's going to come back, but if they go to the Super Bowl, he may not come back as a starter.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that would be so unfortunate if he got hurt his way back to the bench, for good.
Yeah. But so they're without Trey Lance, so Jimmy G is getting the start, and it's going to be his ride for the rest of the year. Then they go up against a struggling Denver Broncos team who went 1-1, and their win was an ugly win against the Houston Texans. Now, obviously, we expect the Texans to be better than we expected, but the Broncos look a lot worse than we expected.
They look god awful this year. I told you, Russell Wilson is going to take some time getting used to Denver. You know, it's the rise in elevation. It's everything that has to do with being a hometown hero, because he's from Denver. So it's getting to him. It looks like it's getting to him. The man can't play in the red zone.
No,
he can't play in the red zone.
They have 0 red zone touchdowns, which is crazy to think about. They struggle scoring the ball. So you from 20 to 20, you're great, but in the red zone when it counts, you just can't cash out.
It. And it's crazy to me that you just consistently try to force pass the ball in the red zone. Run the ball. You gotta run the ball.
And it's weird because they do try to run the ball, and they have great running backs. And Javonte Williams, who's a very slept-on running back, and Melvin Gordon. And I think that first game where both of them fumbled on the goal line, I think they're haunted by that. They just don't. They're scared to to just push it and just go for it.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because those running backs are more than capable. Like, you give them the ball, like, Melvin Gordon's going to score. Javonte Williams is definitely going to score.
Right.
And these are, again, don't be afraid to run. It seems that this seems to be the theme here, where it's like teams that are set up to run.
Run the ball.
Just run the ball.
Let them go.
Like that's running the ball is going to do you wonders. It's going to help you even against the teams that are juggernauts on offense. Like, say the Bills. Like, we've seen an offense before where they just score at
absolute will
and put up over 30 points a game. We've seen that historically in the NFL, and typically the prime example of that is the Bills and Giants in their first ever Super Bowl, where Bill Parcells said shorten the game, and it's like you run the ball in order to keep their offense off the field, and you control the pace of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And teams that are set up to do that, there are good teams that are set up to do that. The Vikings, the Titans, the
Saints,
the Raiders, the Broncos. These are all teams that look, just feed your running backs. And I know it's like you just can't abandon it that early in the game because it's going to do you wonders. It's going to keep you alive in the game. And we're able to see comebacks. Because think about it. Every team that came back last week, they came back through, aside from the Dolphins who just threw their way back in, but they were running the ball a little bit more in the second half.
For sure, they ran the ball a lot more in the second half.
But I think they only had like 16 total rushing attempts between all their runners. But obviously, they're doing what the defense is giving them.
Right.
The defense gave them the passing lanes, and they exploited it. If the defense is going to give you the running lanes, take that.
Right.
Like, just take it and run.
Especially if you have the talented running backs that you have, like in Miami, Raheem Mostert. Over in New Orleans, you have Alvin Kamara. Minnesota, you have Dalvin Cook. You know, you have these running backs that can just break a game open.
Detroit Lions, DeAndre Swift.
Yes, Detroit Lions, DeAndre Swift. You know, you have these running backs that can take a game over, and they can keep the other team's offense off the field. You got to let them run.
Absolutely.
You got to let them run. I'm so excited for this week. This week is a bunch of really good games.
We got some excited games, but I got to say, are you ready to pick some games?
Yeah, let's pick the games of the week, man. I'm excited.
Okay, man. So let's start with the Thursday night game. Your Steelers going into the Cleveland Browns to play. Tell me, who you picking that game?
Come on.
You picking the Browns?
No.
I knew you were picking the Browns.
No, I'm picking the Steelers. I'm very confident in Pittsburgh this week. I really hope that we decide to focus on one outside linebacker to come back and fill TJ Watt's hole until he's in. I hope it's Malik Reed. but we shall see. I'm excited for Pittsburgh this week.
I'm picking your Steelers. I just think this is going to be one of those games where Tomlin wins you a game. Just on sheer coaching alone.
Oh,
I think he can win this game.
Moving on, we're going to go into Cincinnati and New York.
I'm going to go.
Jets.
I think the Bengals get their first win over the Jets. I think a lot of things had to happen for the Jets to win that game. But I think I just have a feeling Cincinnati's going to crack the code and just kind of like, okay, this is what we need to do in order to win. And it may be running the ball with Joe Mixon. So I'm taking Cincinnati.
I'm going to go with the Jets on this one.
Ooh, okay.
I think Cincinnati's going to fall to 0-3.
I would like to see that, but I don't know.
I want to see the Williams brothers get after Joe Burrow this week. You forgot about them, didn't you?
How many sacks do you think they're going to get?
Combined?
I'd say at least 3 between the two.
At minimum. Bare minimum, they're getting 3.
Oh, man.
Right. The Williams brothers are going to get after it this week.
Joe Flacco.
I don't see another game like what happened last week coming from Joe Flacco, but he's going to manage the game for the defense to capitalize on the lack of offensive line in Cincy, I feel. Moving on to your Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots.
I'm taking my Ravens. I think offensively, Lamar's been playing excellent these 2 games. And I think that when Lamar's playing excellent, it's hard, even the best of coaches, to stop him, because we've even seen him beat Belichick. Belichick prepare for a game plan, and Lamar beat Belichick. But we've also seen the vice versa. Belichick have a different strategy going for it and stopping Lamar as well. So I'm taking my Ravens, but I think this is going to be a very low-scoring affair.
I'm going to go with Baltimore as well, mostly because I feel like you guys outpace New England. You guys are much faster. You guys are much stronger. And Mac Jones is just not as good. But on the other side of that coin, Bill Belichick can outcoach for a win. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup between you two. Can you guys shake off the 28-point fourth quarter? It's going to be big. Can you guys shake that off and go into New England and win?
I believe so.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tough.
We're going to move on to Philly and Washington.
Philly looks too good. I'm taking Jalen Hurts. He's going to ball out.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty for Washington this week.
No, it's not.
It's not going to be
I do
pretty.
expect Washington to scrap, but Philly's ultimately going to win.
New Orleans and Carolina.
I think New Orleans gets back on track. I like their defense a lot better, and Carolina just seems to find a way to lose games. They're just not looking good. So I'm taking the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints too. There's not anything that really can have me go for the Carolina Panthers much this year.
Baker Mayfield.
Shut up, you. Houston and Chicago. This is more or less a team of who plays worse.
Yeah, another low-scoring affair. I'm gonna say Chicago. I think just the home field advantage and having the footage of like, okay, look, this is what we did wrong against the Packers. Let's do what we need to do in order to win. And I think, I don't know, I just have a feeling with Chicago on this one.
I'm going to go with Houston on this one because I like Lovie Smith.
Okay.
I like him more than I like Matt Nagy.
Well, then Matt Nagy's out.
He's out. You're right. I still like him more than the
Matt
coach.
Eberflus.
God bless you. I'm going to go with Houston on this one. We're going to move to Kansas City and Indy.
Kansas City, baby. But I do think Indy's going to score points.
I hope they score points.
I think they will, but Mahomes is going to score more because that's typically what he does.
I still have no inclination to think that they could beat Andy Reid right now.
But the game of the week, right here, right now, Chris Palmer, who you got for this game? I see you wear Buffalo blue.
Man, I'm trying to think. I'm running all this the tail of the tape in my head, and it's so evenly matched. This game.
I will say this though. I will say Buffalo, and I'm sorry, T.
I'm going with Miami.
I want Miami to win, but Buffalo. There was a stat we didn't mention before. Josh Allen is 7-0 against the Dolphins.
Yes, but that was before
Miami got good, but the Bills got better.
Understandably
I
so.
don't think. I think specifically it's going to come down to Von Miller making plays, and I saw the Ravens generate pressure but couldn't get there. Von Miller can get there, and that Buffalo defense is going to be a tough matchup against Tua and the Dolphins.
I'm going to go with Miami because I really want to see Tua silence everybody.
I'd like to see it too.
I want to. I'd
like to see
I
it
want to
too.
see it because everyone calls me crazy when I say that this kid's special.
You're crazy.
This kid's special. We're gonna move on to probably the number 2 game of the week: Detroit and Minnesota.
I do want to see this game.
This game is going to be great.
This game looks great. I'm taking Detroit. I just have maybe I didn't learn my lesson from last year in taking Detroit in games, and then they lose, and it's like, well, yeah, I took Detroit. What do you expect?
No,
have
that's
a good
different.
I have a good feeling about Detroit. I think they're going to be a good team this year.
It's much different than last year. Losing 1 possession games, that was something that a lot of people didn't even see. They didn't even give him that much credit.
Who you taking?
I'm
this
taking
game?
Detroit.
Oh yeah!
I think there's a lot more.
Lions blue, baby.
I thought it was. You just said it was Buffalo Blue. Now
It's Lions blue. It's just blue.
it's blue. No, I'm very excited for Detroit. I feel like Detroit is gathering such a big backing now throughout the league because it's just after a history of you guys being so bad. There's so much light coming now, man. It's fun to watch Detroit play. This Thanksgiving is going to be so much fun.
I would like to. I gotta check. We gotta check to see that matchup.
Las Vegas and Tennessee.
Oh man, I'm gonna go with Tennessee. I think
Okay.
what really turned me off to the Raiders last week was that they gave up too many running yards, and to give up 143, and you know that Tennessee's looking to feed Derrick Henry, where it's like, look, he's not the problem here. Like, he's clearly not the problem. I think this is probably the game that he could, break through. And I would like to see that because I know you like Derrick Henry. I like Derrick Henry too, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Titans.
I respect that. I'm going to go with Vegas on this one.
Ooh. You like the Raiders?
I like the Raiders, yes, but when you look at the matchup, that offensive line in Tennessee cannot match that defensive front. That defensive front, I feel like, is going to make minced meat out of the Tennessee Titans offense. You know, they may have let up 140 some odd yards against Arizona. Arizona has a really good offensive line, and Kyler Murray is fat. Kyler Murray's Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
You know, without Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill's what? Chad Pennington?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so. Former Dolphins quarterback.
So, former Jets quarterback.
Former Jets and Dolphins quarterback.
Yes. No, I'm going to go with Vegas. I think Vegas is the better, well-suited team to win this game. They have more than just one focal point of a piece. As long as they use it, they have to use them.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the Chargers and the Jaguars.
I think even with the broken Chargers, I think the Chargers are going to win this game. They got to lean on Austin Eckler, another great running back that's just underutilized. And he was utilized in garbage time last week against the Chiefs, but I like to see him incorporated more in the first half.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Chargers.
I agree with you. Jaguars, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. You're close. Not yet.
Not yet.
You need a couple more, maybe another year or two before you'll be able to get over the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Play hard, play safe, get better. You guys are close. Not yet. We're going to go into the Battle of the Vets, Green Bay and Tampa.
Who you got this game?
This game's going to be ugly.
It is going to be ugly.
This game is going to be ugly. It's going to be two old, broken men throwing at young boys. I'm going to go Green Bay on this one. I feel like Aaron Jones is going to have a big game this week.
See, I think as much as Aaron Jones can get it done, Leonard Fournette can also get it done too.
Leonard Fournette's had a second revival of his career.
I'm going to go with Brady and the Bucks. I don't believe – I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair, but I like that Bucks defense a lot more than I like that Green Bay defense.
I respect that.
Which is saying something because I do like that Green Bay defense, but the Bucks, I don't know, they just have that winning edge about them, and so, they just absolutely baffled Jameis Winston last week.
He's not hard to baffle.
That's true.
Moving on to Arizona and the Rams.
Arizona and the Rams. I'm torn on this one.
I'm a little torn on this one too. I'll tell you what. I'm going to go Arizona because I feel they just need a win.
So do the Rams. I mean, I'm going to go with the Rams. Even at home, the week 1 loss to the Chiefs, that was a bet. Like, even at home, they don't really do that well. I mean, and for three quarters of that game last week, the Cardinals didn't look that good. I'm going to go with the Rams. I trust Sean McVay more over Cliff Kingsbury.
Okay. Atlanta and Seattle?
I'm going to go Atlanta. And Atlanta's been scrapping.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm going to go with Atlanta for the sheer sake that although James
Marcus Mariota?
No. Geno Smith.
Geno Smith
has the highest completion percentage right now in the league. The man can't score.
No.
And that's always been his issue. And Atlanta, they scrap and they put up points. So I'm going to go Atlanta with you. Sunday night, San Francisco and Denver.
I'm going to go with the 49ers. I think they kind of really have a showcase on offense. And the Broncos will just be left playing comeback. Come from behind ball.
Yep, I agree with you again there. San Francisco is going to win that one. Denver looks like they're in complete disarray. They look lost right now. Mm-hmm. They need to figure it out and figure it out quick or they're going to be left behind very, very soon. Mm. And then finally, Dallas and New York.
You repping blue for the Giants?
I wear a blue shirt once.
You repping blue?
Yeah, though I'm gonna go for the Giants on this one.
Okay.
But like I said earlier, if believe this was off air, this is gonna be very showing for the ceiling of Daniel Jones. Dallas is in shambles on both sides of the ball right now. They can't get anything right.
Well, they got their defense right. They got Micah Parsons right.
They have him right. That defense is a mess. If Daniel Jones plays like he normally plays, which is true to form, and you play okay enough to get by, it's going to be very telling for what his ceiling is as a player throughout the rest of his career. Mm-hmm. If you can't take complete advantage over a disheveled defense, there's not much left.
See, I'm torn on this one. You know what? Because the Giants, it's like we're looking at their wins. Tennessee, and then Carolina. We expected Tennessee to be good, but they're looking like a really bad team.
Yeah.
Even though I picked them to win this week, but they're looking pretty bad the first 2 weeks. Carolina also looks to be a pretty bad team as well.
But that was more so expected.
Yeah, that was expected, but it was still ugly. Mm-hmm. And I think with the Cowboys, I think that just getting that win over Cincinnati, where it's like, okay, we've seen that team be a good team because they made it to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I think that was a pretty impressive win because their defense just absolutely ate Joe Burrow. And I think that the Giants have always struggled with protecting their quarterback, even with Eli Manning. Their offensive line was never their strong suit over the years. And their offensive line now is not that good. And I think they're going to have a really tough time stopping Micah Parsons and just that whole D-line. I'm going to take the Cowboys.
Okay.
I don't necessarily trust them. I think Tony Pollard is a capable back to match what Saquon can do.
Okay. I can see that.
So,
yeah. All right, guys, there it is. There are picks for the week. We're talking about some really exciting games. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Comment if you agree with us, disagree with us.
And we'll catch you next week.
We will catch you guys next week. Actually, I will not be here next week.
Oh yeah,
I will be in Florida for the next 2 weeks, so John will be taking over while I'm gone. But you will still hear my picks for each week while I'm away.
Yeah, don't worry. So I'll take it over for 2 weeks, but we'll still get your picks and we'll still tally it up at the end of the year. So we won't miss a beat, and we'll still have plenty to talk about even when you get back. So
Absolutely.
Enjoy your time in Florida.
Yep. All right, guys.